everybody. Welcome to the Kyla and
Toyah show. And today we're doing things a little bit different. So, Kyla, what are we talking about today?
Thank you for the reminder. Oh, you're over here. So, hi everyone. Welcome to episode 4. So excited to have you back. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about, there was this Wall Street Journal article. Can't remember where I found it, but I think I must have found it on social. And it just was talking about like how in the situation that we're in with Corona, there's a lot of people pushing like, you have to be productive. Like, this is the time to be like the most productive of your life. And then there's another camp that's like, hey, like one of my friends, he's like, I'm a single dad. I have to homeschool my 2 kids. I'm going through this stuff. Like, I don't know if I can really like get out of bed, let alone like be productive. So we just wanted to toss that out because we were talking about it last week and just wanted to share our thoughts with you. And of course, please share your thoughts with us below. So Toyah, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm coming from a accept it, like embrace it, and then reject it. Like I'm doing both, right? So on the embracing tip would be like Kyla saw the article, but it's like, what is it the time for? So for some people, especially like for us, if maybe you work from home and maybe you run your own business, and so there's not a ton that's changed for you, like as far as like you needing to market and run your business and maybe get clients. So there's this sense that like everybody's on the internet now, and it's doubled or whatever, the numbers are through the roof and everybody's on Instagram and Facebook and whatever, and so get your message out there. And so you start to feel this like, I need to work on that program, the new offering, and do this. And so I feel that, and I accept that, you know what, yes, now I'm already on social media. I already like to encourage people. And now is not the time necessarily for me to shy away and be like, I just want to take a week off. Unless I really need that week off. But if it's just like, my hair doesn't look right today, or like, now I am embracing that now is the time to be out there as your authentic self, make people feel good, like they can make it through this, and encourage them and help. So I'm all for that. On the other side, should I do the reject now or no? Let's hear how you're embracing it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I totally agree with you, like on the embracing side. Like I'm also embrace and reject, and I think there needs to be a balance. But on the embrace side, I think, and how I think I umbrella the whole thing as you were talking, I was thinking about like intention, right? So like if your intention is like, I need to do like everybody else is doing like that Zoom like virtual thing, and I need to do that, and I need to do that, and then you're like, then like probably we may go into the D word, of depression, that downward spiral. But like, if your intention is like, what you were saying, oh, you're over here. What you were saying, Toyah, of like I want to put positive stuff out there. I want to support and encourage people. I strongly believe that for every creation that you put out there, like there's someone out in the universe that needs it, and that, they have wanted to hear that, or they're waiting to hear it. But I also think that, it's good to before, and I'm like that person that's like, I'm just going to jump before like I jump. I get it. But like, I think before jumping into anything, right, whether during Corona or not during Corona, thinking about the intention around it. Yeah, I think that that's something to maybe consider.
For sure. It's like, why are you doing it? You know, and not just the peer pressure / the like external expectation that like you should be getting more done. And whether like we were talking about maybe like business wise, but there's also the like, you know, oh, you have so much more time now, which some people do, but some people don't. And so like maybe you don't have more time because now you're homeschooling your kid. And so like you're spending the whole day or half the day, you know, educating them when that was the teacher's responsibility before. So, you know, maybe you don't have extra time for like reading books and getting fit and everything else that like maybe you feel like everyone else is doing. So it's just, you know, I guess that kind of spills into the rejection side. But yes, I totally agree. It's like, why are you doing what you're doing? So on the rejection side of like rejecting it, I do tend to get like really excited about like, yes, and I can do this too. And like, what's my new thing gonna be? Or I'll like write down like, oh, what am I gonna give? And I can do this. But, you know, last week we were talking about like how helpful it is to have a coach. And so I get coached, and one of the big things that I was coached on within the past, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so, is that like every idea that I have, I don't have to do it immediately that day, like, and then just go, like you said, jump on in. And so it's not that for me that it's a bad thing to jump in. It's just thinking about like, what does this really mean? So I believe I may have shared previously that like for me, one of my triggers for my depression is doing too much. So in this like era of like, now's the time and you can do this and you can do that, you know, I am trying to say, this is an awesome time for introspection, for figuring out what you want to do with your life, what you thought about your life. Were you loving it before? Were you not loving it? You know, like coming up with a game plan and then taking the actions that's for you. And so if you're burnt out, then this is not the time for you to be in this like go, go, go. So for me, my rejection is like, I'm not pushing myself to some crazy level that like is not sustainable, that's gonna put me back into like a depression, or that's gonna lead the way or open the door, because the door is already like, it's already kind of like, you know, it's there all the time anyway. So I don't want to do anything that like says like, hey, come get me. So for me, like an example would be, I wanted to start this Facebook group, and I was like, I'm starting this group. These ladies, they need me now. Like it's quarantine, single, living alone. Yes, let's do it. And I was like ready to just be like, I'm launching it on this date and I'm doing all this. And then I have to think, well, you don't just launch it. Like you gotta like do something with it. Like you gotta be there every day. And so just kind of thinking ahead of like, what are these grandiose plans like really mean? That helps me like scale it back and say, you don't have to do it on that day. Like take your time, you know? So that's my rejection, is remembering I matter too. So I want to help people, but I gotta help myself too. So yeah, that's my rejection of doing too much. And then I just have to clean up a second is, I mentioned like, you know, like this is not the time to shy away because like, oh, I don't like how my hair looks today or whatever. And I'm just going to be honest. Some days that happens. Like I'm not on social every single day. There are days that I'm like, I'm not feeling it today. And that's okay. Okay. That's it.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I think and your hair looks great today. By the way, I love your headband. It's very springy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love everything you said. You know, I mean, having gone through depression in a major way, right? Like you know, we've talked about last time the signs, you know, like the ugly cry or the dead eye, which I feel like they've taken on their own personas now on the internet. I feel like each one should have their own Facebook page and their own like followers, you know? Yeah, I think that, you know, whatever is going on for you in this time of Corona, like Corona is just this magnifying glass. So the stuff that was going on before was always there. Now there are less things to distract. And so the things will be coming up. And, you know, whether or not it's like being productive or it's, you know, the shoulds, you know, like, and I know we've also used the word should in our show, but like take those shoulds with a grain of salt, and for your own self, like change the shoulds into like, I want, right? Like I want to do this. And then you just feel the energy is a little bit different around that versus, right, I should be doing this to be productive. I should be doing that, right? And the other thing about productivity is that, you know, maybe productive for Toyah is going to look something different than me and you, and just vice versa. And that's okay. And so productive for you today is I'm going to write in my journal, or I'm going to like, I don't know, like clean up my desk a little bit, or like we talked about piles last time, like less piles or more piles or whatever. I think the important thing is, of course, like thinking about intention, acceptance, rejection, but also just thinking about like, what does this mean? Like what is the greater meaning for you, and how does that feel for you? And if it feels good, do it. If it doesn't, like my life coach would say, if it feels icky for whatever reason, then don't. And there's no judgment, like no judgment of self. And like, because what I would do is I would not do the thing, and then I would beat myself up over not doing the thing. And then the candle is like burning. It's like, and, you know, you really just want to make sure that you're being kind and gentle and compassionate to yourself during this time. So I was just thinking also, do you, Toyah, do you have tips of like for productivity tips that we could share?
So yes. So one tip that I would share with your productivity is really just understanding kind of one of the things you said before is, why are you doing what you're doing? Because if you don't really understand or feel connected to the reason that you're doing it, then you're going to be less likely to really follow through with it and like really make, you know, headway with that. So that would be one tip. Another would be, sometimes a project just seems really, really big. And so it can feel really overwhelming, or it could feel like because it's so big, you never quite have the right time for it, like because you don't have that much space in your day. So just breaking it down into these bite-sized pieces of like, I can do these steps first so that you're making progress versus feeling like, when am I going to get the whole thing done? So those are just a couple. I'm not sure how many tips you want. Why don't you tell some tips?
Yeah, no, those are awesome. I love that. You know, so the intention setting has been like a thread, right? Your why. And make sure like, you know, the why, if we unpack that a little bit, you know, make sure your why is greater than your why not. Because that's going to be the difference, whether you're, you know, whether it's about taking out the trash, whether it's about, you know, finishing that next project or starting that next project, or whatever it is for you, that why is going to like be, you know, what tips you over, or what keeps you from tipping over. And then I love what you said about like, just, you know, making sure that it's like in bite-sized chunks. Like, I think that's so helpful because it can be overwhelming with Corona or without Corona. And also for me, like what helps is doing that bite-sized chunks, but also doing things like, cause sometimes when you do things like you don't feel like there's progress being made. Let's say you're like, like, why would I do that anyway? Like, nobody's going to know, and there's going to be no progress shown or whatever. But like things for me, for example, that don't even necessarily have to do with work, like cooking, I absolutely love because it's bite-sizable, no pun intended. But also there's a finished product, you know, because sometimes like when you're trying to be productive and you're like, you want to have like a tangible finished product. And something that I did when I wrote like my first book, I would print out, you know, everything on paper so I could walk away from the printer feeling like I have this like tangible thing in my hand. And so whatever that is for you, you know, whether it's cooking and you have that tangible, or it's like, you know, seeing a clean desk or a clean floor or whatever, you know, that's something that is really helpful for me. So anything else, Toyah, on your end?
I mean, I was trying to hold in my anything else because I did have one more. And it's because I use, you know, I feel like I talk about this all the time. I use this thing. It's called the High Performance Planner. I saw it on like a commercial in my Facebook, you know, thread, but it's by Brendon. I'm going to say his last name probably wrong, Burchard, but it's amazing. And so in the like morning mindset, when you're planning your day, one of the questions that, you know, in the planner, it asks you is like, what might stress you out that day? And what can you do about it? You have a project, this task, this thing that you want to be productive with, thinking ahead of like what, and this is not falling into like everything's gonna go wrong, but like thinking ahead of like what about this might like cause me a little bit of stress or like toss me off. When you think about it, then you already think of like, this is what I'm gonna do to like negate that. And I find it just so helpful for me ever since I started really thinking about that. And sometimes you might be like, nothing can stress me out about this. Awesome. But you know, it's something that I find very helpful.
Yeah, I love that because it's also like you're starting your day right, and you're also making sure you're not in avoidance with something, because stress is such an avoid, like makes us like avoid, like go this way, go this way. Yeah, no, that's so great. Thank you for that great share. It looks like it's getting dark over there.
It is. I think, I mean, we let's just be honest, okay? We like set our recording time and then we basically chit chat for like 2 hours and then we record. And so one of these times I was like, I don't have natural sunlight. And I was like trying to find lamps to like bring in. And today I think we started and I had light and now I don't. So now we know like we can't record this late.
We have to push up our record time.
I think that's the sign, basically. You know, we saw the sign that this is probably a wrap.
Yep. I saw the sign and it opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We love you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for subscribing. And if you want to share your productivity tips down below, we'd love to hear from you. And please continue to hit like.
Yep, like, share. I was about to say support. Yes, support the show. Like, subscribe, and share. All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.